like Jen Rosati and Don Staley and all those folks that Cheryl Reeve, who had a hand in Caitlin Clark not making Team USA last year in the Olympics, the actual committee.
When you decide to leave out the most popular and talked about player in women's basketball, you're almost guaranteed to face some serious backlash. And that's exactly what happened. The moment Caitlin Clark's name was missing from the Olympic roster, everything exploded. Fans were stunned. The media rushed to react, and social platforms lit up instantly. It wasn't just a small reaction. It grew into a full-scale storm that nobody on the committee seemed prepared for. People weren't upset only because she's talented. They were shocked because she brings something rare, a massive audience that follows her everywhere she goes. She has the ability to fill arenas, boost TV ratings, and attract new fans who never watched the sport before. Leaving someone like that off the biggest stage in the world felt confusing, even careless, to many observers. Instead of quiet support for the team, the decision sparked debate, arguments, and endless discussions about the future of women's basketball. What should have been a moment of unity became a wave of criticism directed at USA Basketball. In the end, the choice didn't just cause disappointment. It revealed how much the sport depends on star power, and how costly it can be when that power is ignored.
I'd rather watch paint dry. I'd rather watch dirt just be moved around. Because Caitlin Clark's not on the team. If she's there, it's appointment TV. You people, whoever did this, honestly, hey, take your brain, put it in a museum, and study it for how...
After the highly debated choice to bench Caitlin Clark during the Olympic selection process, USA Basketball has now announced a complete overhaul of its entire structure. They aren't just making small adjustments, they're rebuilding everything from the ground up. People in important positions are being moved out, new leadership is stepping in, and the organization is trying to repair the damage caused by that controversial decision. With Sue Bird now taking a major leadership role, Clark's chances of making the 2028 Los Angeles Olympic team look very different from before. This shift has created a fresh path for her, one that may finally give her the opportunity many fans felt she deserved this time around. The shockwaves from the original decision spread quickly. Supporters, analysts, and even former players were stunned by how messy the situation became. So what actually happened behind closed doors between Cheryl Reeve and the Olympic Committee? What disagreements led to such a dramatic outcome? Those questions still hang in the air, making the story even more fascinating.
Used to be a committee. Dawn Staley, Jennifer Rizzuti, and all of the hooligans associated in picking the USA basketball team. All of the hooligans, Cheryl Reeves included, so full of themselves, so bound by tribalism that they just couldn't look past their own nose. And at the end of the day, look at them now. Look at them now. The same fate as Cheryl Swoops calling those Dallas Wings games. Tell me when I'm telling.
The Olympic Committee, just as many people predicted, came forward with a long list of explanations for why Caitlin Clark didn't make the final roster. They presented excuse after excuse, trying to shape a narrative that made their choice sound reasonable. At least, that's the version of events they wanted everyone to believe. Jen Rosati, who leads the selection committee, claimed the decision was based entirely on basketball reasons. According to her, things like international experience, past involvement with Team USA, and familiarity with their system were the major factors. She emphasized that popularity, media attention, and Clark's massive fan following had nothing to do with it. In her words, star appeal simply wasn't part of the conversation. But to many fans, her explanation felt incomplete. People wondered how one of the most impactful players in the sport could be dismissed so easily. Supporters questioned whether the committee was truly focused on talent, or if they were trying to protect the old guard and avoid shaking up the existing hierarchy. No matter how the committee tried to spin it, the reasoning didn't sit right with a large portion of the basketball community, and that frustration is still growing.
During the Olympics, a person from either South Korea or Japan, holding up the Caitlin Clark sign, Team USA looked at that gentleman and said, $, $, $, $, $. these people over there in Japan, these people over there in South Korea, they're not paying for Team USA to come and watch hoop, but they'll pay for Caitlin Clark. In fact, they are so strong about voicing that they'll pay for Caitlin Clark. They'll come to the Olympic game holding a sign that says, "We."
Do you remember this moment? Hold on, let's look at it again. They really expect us to believe they overlooked the player who shattered almost every major record in women's basketball? The same young star who changed the entire landscape of the sport in a single year? That's the explanation they're standing by, and we're supposed to accept it without question. And don't even bring up the lack of international experience excuse. That argument falls apart instantly. Caitlin Clark was far from an inexperienced newcomer. She represented Team USA at the FIBA Under-19 World Cup, not once but twice. She helped bring home 2 gold medals, and even walked away with MVP honors for her performance. That alone proves she knows how to compete on the world stage. Yet somehow, despite all of that, they claim she wasn't ready. Fans everywhere couldn't believe it. People were left wondering how someone with her resume, impact, and talent could be brushed aside so casually. Whether you support Clark or not, the excuses just don't line up with the facts. And that's exactly why the debate around her Olympic snub refuses to die down.
On his part, Caitlin Clark is PR. That's where, how can they leave her once again? Everybody's, out together. They don't.
So let's break down what Caitlin Clark actually accomplished the moment she stepped into the WNBA. Everything changed instantly. Ticket prices didn't just rise, they exploded. Anytime the Indiana Fever showed up in a new city, the cost to get inside the arena jumped higher than anyone had ever seen. Buildings that normally struggled to fill seats were suddenly overflowing with fans eager to watch her play live. That first game between Indiana and Connecticut? It pulled in more viewers than several NBA playoff matchups airing during the same week. Think about that for a second. A rookie in the WNBA outdrew some of the biggest names in men's basketball. That kind of attention had never been seen before in the league. And it didn't stop there. Her jersey sales blew past every other player in the sport. It wasn't even a contest. She became the face of the league practically overnight. During that first season alone, Clark shattered an unbelievable 62 records, touching everything from scoring milestones to viewership highs. Her presence didn't just boost the WNBA. It transformed the entire landscape of women's basketball and proved her impact goes far beyond the court.
I remember the National Basketball Association, the NBA, the commissioner, Adam Silver, he came right out and said, I wouldn't have left Caitlin Clark off that team. And he even said, and several others said, women's basketball really dropped the ball on an opportunity to grow the women's game by leaving Caitlin Clark off.
We're not talking about a tiny boost or a minor change here. Caitlin Clark completely shifted the direction of women's basketball. The sport grew faster and louder than ever because of her impact. Yet somehow the Olympic Committee decided she wasn't important enough to join the national team. That decision stunned everyone, and the backlash arrived instantly. Fans, analysts, and former players called out the committee's weak explanations. Many insiders didn't hold back. Stephen A. Smith openly said the move looked intentional, as if someone wanted to slow down the huge wave of progress the women's game was finally experiencing. He argued that leaving Clark off the roster wasn't just a mistake, it was a direct hit on the sport's momentum. Then came Lisa Leslie, a legend with 4 Olympic gold medals. She didn't sugarcoat anything either. She described the choice as one of the biggest marketing failures the sports world has ever seen. To her, ignoring the most recognizable player in the game right now made absolutely no sense. Instead of using Clark to bring in new viewers and push women's basketball to another level, the committee turned away from its own greatest opportunity.
This is about what I will personally label the idiocy of Team USA women's basketball. How dare you make this decision?
What were the people in charge even thinking? This wasn't only about Caitlin Clark missing a major opportunity. It was about the entire women's basketball world losing a moment of huge visibility. By choosing to focus strictly on experience instead of recognizing the value of a rising superstar, the committee created a public relations disaster that exploded far beyond anything they expected. Fans were furious, and the outrage kept growing because the mistake was so obvious that no excuse could cover it up. The frustration became too loud to push aside, and it was clear something had to change. But here's the real twist. The backlash over Clark was only the top layer of a much bigger issue. Behind closed doors, USA Basketball was already dealing with serious internal problems. The Clark snub simply exposed what had been hiding in the dark for years. Their system was outdated, inflexible, and completely out of touch with the way the sport was evolving. The decision wasn't a random slip-up. It was the predictable outcome of a structure that had been cracking for a long time. In many ways, the controversy wasn't just a mistake. It was a warning sign that the entire operation was heading toward collapse unless something major changed.
For the first time, like in the history of basketball, you have arguably a player who is the most popular player in the world. Like you could argue right now, Caitlin Clark is the most talked about, discussed, most popular, most puts asses in the seats, single basketball player in the world. You could argue that. Yeah, you can say maybe LeBron, Luka, whatever you want, but you can argue it. And you leave her off the Olympics team, it's not only a showcase for her, it's for the sport and the other WNBA players who are on this team. How dumb, how brain dead, how...
You know what this really revealed? It exposed a system stuck in the past, run by people who seemed genuinely afraid of change. The committee acted as if it were still the early 2000s, back when women's basketball struggled just to get noticed. They completely missed the fact that Caitlin Clark was more than just a great player. She was a rare, once-in-a-generation talent who could shine a spotlight on the entire sport during the Olympics. Think about what the Olympics actually are. Millions of casual viewers tune in, often watching sports they wouldn't normally care about. That's when stars are made, when careers explode onto the global stage. And yet, the very people who were supposed to grow and promote the sport intentionally left off the one athlete capable of drawing those viewers. Clark had already proven she could fill arenas, break records, and attract massive attention. She wasn't just another player, she was a game changer. By ignoring her, the committee not only missed a chance to elevate women's basketball, they sent a message that innovation and star power didn't matter. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a clear sign that the system was outdated, resistant to progress, and completely out of touch with the modern game.